Oh, good evening, everyone. This topic is living on Dash, which is something that's very strange to a lot of people. So first, I would like to get some crowd sentiment. Who here has ever spent any kind of cryptocurrency? All right, nice. This already makes this a strange room because I've done this at cryptocurrency conferences around the world, and it's not always nearly that good. Sometimes it's less than half, which is why do you have it if you don't use it? Now, the next question is, how many people have spent cryptocurrency in a specific point of sale environment, i.e. physically, not just online? That's much better than I thought, but still, I mean, a little drop off. Now, how many people here spend cryptocurrency regularly, as in you have to pay monthly bills, you have to, you buy something like every week from the local store, something like that. How many of those? Yeah, so this should be a very familiar topic to most people, although not, there are still some extra tricks. So I have to open with a story when we're talking about how we get to mass adoption where everyone kind of lives off of it, right? So there's a instrument manufacturer from Germany called Hohner, and they had a very strong impact on the musical development and evolution in the north of Mexico, because apparently a bunch of people were buying instruments, and that's where they got them from. But Hohner included sheet music in with those instruments. That then they just started like, all right, well we'll play this, and so now you have like all the Bavarian oompa oompa kind of rhythm type stuff ended up in northern Mexican music as a result. So, what does this have to do with living off of Dash? Well, in order to get, we had a big brainstorming session earlier today. We're talking about, well, how do we get people to spend it? How do we get people to use it? It all starts with the unique value proposition of there's something that you absolutely need it for, right? You can, like, I need it to send a remittance, for example. I need it to save money on this, or I need it to be free in whatever way. And then you use it for that one thing. But as long as you have it connected to, I can actually spend it in other places, then before you know it, spending it becomes the usual thing. And so, for example, in my story, I live off of Dash because I want to be free. I don't want to be chained by the old financial system. I want to just live on free money that people don't have control over my life. And so because of that, that's my unique value proposition, and all the rest kind of comes as a bonus. So, that being said, let me introduce the rest, or let them introduce themselves, the rest of my illustrious panel, starting with you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lawrence, aka Lando Rodbarian, on Twitter and other social medias, which infringe on your privacy, so you shouldn't use it. And no, I run two websites. The first one is probably known here in the room, shopinbit.de, and I sell over 80,000 products within the European Union. So you could imagine the orange big store, but only with crypto, and it's crypto only, of course. And I also do merchandise, like this one on my second site. It's called satoshigoods.com. Yeah, so short intro.
Hello there, my name is Gabriel Mitacchione. I'm Dash Latam Madrid team leader. I have lived on Dash for almost 2 years. From now, I started working on Dash Merchant Venezuela. I worked there for 5 months. Then I moved here to Europe and started work with this remittances project called Remesa con Dash, where we help Venezuelan migrants to send money to their families in Venezuela by buying products directly to merchants in Venezuela, all in an ecosystem that we generated. And the merchants deliver these products directly to the people's home.
Hello, I'm Unchained. I've been in Dash for about 5 years. I've lived on Dash for about 4 or 5 years. And I kind of use Dash as a savings vehicle through instruments like CrowdNode, and look forward to using something like Vaultoro to hedge into certain investments, things like that, to go from Dash to gold. So that's some of the stuff that I've been doing in Dash and kind of enjoying the freedom that comes with it. Because before I used to do business with banks overseas, and banking is a very regulated industry. And in the last couple of years, all the rules and regulations that basically request us to know every single thing about you. So I kind of got into Dash for that and enjoy it that way.
So my story, it's been relatively well publicized, but in case you weren't aware, I moved to New Hampshire in 2013 for a little thing called the Free State Project, basically a move of freedom-minded people to say, let's all get to one spot and just see what happens when a lot of like-minded people are in one spot. Sort of like a lot of like-minded people are right here, right now. And I heard about Bitcoin on the way, and I started receiving it for payment, like I do whatever odd job that they'd give me, and just thought I'd just try to receive it. And it was late 2015 when I closed my bank account. No, that was 2016. Late 2015 when I stopped accepting any fiat currency for payment. If it would pay me in fiat, I wouldn't take it. Only crypto, only Bitcoin at the time. Closed my bank account a few months later and lived entirely off of Bitcoin for a few glorious months until something called the scaling problem started to happen. And then all of a sudden it was very difficult for me to continue to do that. And it was somewhere around late 2016 where I had to make the choice of, do I abandon this living off of crypto, be your own bank experiment, or do I find a way to make it work? So I found a way to make it work, going down CoinMarketCap, looking at the next project I could feasibly live off of crypto. And the first one I landed on was Dash. And I've been living off of Dash ever since. Still don't have a bank account. And there you go. So, yes, and so obviously for a lot of people that might seem like a dream. And I mean, for me, it's just the way I live. And of course, it's great fun. But that obviously comes with a few challenges. So I'd like to ask everyone, what do you think are the biggest barriers to everyone living off of crypto, kind of like I try my best to do? And like, what do you, and especially in your specific area of expertise. So what's the biggest barrier? What's stopping people from being able to do this? What do you think?
Well, it would be kind of easy to just say, yeah, they need to buy stuff. So I'm working on that one, but it sounds like a joke, but actually it's kind of sad because I've been in Bitcoin like since 2011. And I just thought, yeah, someone smarter, better financed would make that happen, like, I don't know, Amazon and stuff, because, you know, who doesn't want to get paid up front, no chargebacks and stuff. So, no, it's actually kind of sad to have first mover advantage in 2019, where lots and lots of companies should be accepting crypto because it's actually the economical and clever thing to do, because why hassle around with chargebacks? Why pay middlemen? Why like infringe on privacy from your customers, like with PayPal? Like, I don't know if you have tried to read the EULA of PayPal, they got you by the balls. So if you're, yeah, just put it bluntly. So like, you put it on your website and they are not hiding it or anything. They just upfront tell you, hey, why don't you do our business analytics? So we check your site and tell you what kind of customers you have and what they usually spend money on. And I was like thinking, okay, why do you have access to all this data? Because you signed the EULA, it's all in there. So there is no privacy with websites which are using PayPal. So that's my first concern, because I like my privacy very much. Because I grew up in Bavaria as a black Muslim kid. It's kind of hard to live there when you get like controlled by the police twice a week just because you have a different skin color, and everyone thinks you're selling drugs. So that was kind of hard, and I really don't want anyone to experience this kind of surveillance, and that's why I try to keep privacy as like the utmost important thing on my sites. But I'm drifting off again, sorry.
What's the big barrier? What stops people from doing what you do?
The big barrier is that too many are living the Migos dream of Lambo here, Moon there since 2017. Yeah, okay, there are some Migos fans here. Thank you very much. I thought I was the only one listening to rap music in the crypto space because there are too many metalheads. Not that I don't like metal, but yeah, rock on. No, so everyone is just focused on accumulating coins, hodling till death, and it's really pathetic sometimes when other coiners come to me and tell me, hey, I want to buy some crypto merch, but I would like to pay with PayPal. So, and there were not like some guys who were asking it, there were a lot of people who were constantly sending me emails, now, you know, I like your stuff, it's pretty cool, but I don't want to pay in crypto. So I had to move to a second site because, well, I need to live on crypto somehow and make some revenue. So you make a second site up, put PayPal in, and forget privacy at all, because there's no privacy. But it's really sad. It's 90% of Satoshi goods is paid with PayPal, even with free shipping worldwide. So it's like, I don't know, it's kind of sad. So there's lots of stuff to do, and we have to get rid of the Lambo Moon mentality because it's stupid. And when Dash or other coins will reach 100,000 euros or 1 million euros, you will have Venezuela like situation, and you won't get shit for your euros, so or your coins, because it's worthless. So we have to find a new way to live on crypto exclusively.
Well, I didn't tell, but I'm Venezuelan. That's a good start. So I received my payments from the Dash merchant in Dash. So I have to lead of Dash since I started working with Dash. So it has already helped me to change my style of life. It has given me more opportunities, right? The biggest challenge I have faced is the problem with the trust of the Venezuelan. I come from a culture that you cannot trust anybody, and anybody shouldn't trust you either. So when you engage a merchant and offer the service, so you can educate the merchant and teach the merchant how to accept Dash and how this is not a scam, it's really hard to convince them to let them know that this is not a scam, it's another way of business, you can expand your business from this. So that's one of the most, the biggest barriers I have faced. Now working with remittances, it's a little bit different, but it's the same market because I have to train Venezuelans, migrants, to learn how to use Dash, how to make payments to merchants, and they just have to trust me, trust in my word, so they can send the little money they can make here in Europe to their families in Venezuela, to get them food, to get them products, and that's the most difficult part, to make the Venezuelan trust you, and trust Dash, and not to think that Dash is a scam. That it's a very difficult job, but when you get it done, it gets you a lot of satisfaction too, because you are doing actually a really good job. You are helping people. You are helping people that doesn't have accounts, bank accounts, not because they don't believe in the financial system, but they don't have the residence. They live as an illegal immigrants, so they can use Dash as an alternative to help their families in Venezuela.
All right, so I'll recap or ask the question again, because after three people, it kind of got a little lost in the wind. So the question was, what do you think causes people not to live on Dash, right? Barrier. All right. So what I've realized is that people don't understand the difference of an open system versus a closed system. People tend to like something that's guarded for them, taken care of for them, and hesitate to take their own ownership of their own information, their own keys. And I, for instance, when I first got into cryptocurrency 5 years ago or so, first thing I did was I tested out every entrance and exit point that I could find. When I got into crypto, I knew from the beginning, I was like, okay, I know how to get in, I know how to get out, right? Same way if you have the euro or the dollar. If you have a position in a currency, you know how to get in and you know how to get out. Once I figured out that I could buy and sell it, I can buy it and sell it like any other currency. To me, it doesn't matter. I can go from Thailand to Serbia to somewhere in Italy and transfer all these different currencies. So for me, it wasn't a big thing. But what people have to understand and realize is all you need to do is be able to surf it like a wave. It's kind of like riding a wave. You just have to know how to get in and get out and transfer your value whatever way you want to. And there are huge benefits to using Dash. Like I said, the people don't know that you can earn dividends on your Dash through shared services or independent masternode services. You can switch in and out of gold in a short while pretty soon. So what more do I need as a user in a financial system? I need to be able to hold my value personally. I want to be able to trade in and out. I want to be able to buy precious metals or an asset. Same way I have with dollars. If I have dollars, I want to be able to buy gold, silver, or get in and out of financial assets. So with Dash, I have that. So I think once we spread that information out, I think a lot more people will understand the beauty of the system. It's an open source system. Your money is in an open source system that allows you to be free in your transactions. And that's even better than having premium banking at one of these banks. Like there's no other bank that you can go to. You have to go to probably a Swiss bank. I don't have that experience in the U.S., but probably Swiss banks you can buy gold. In the U.S., you couldn't do that. Or anywhere else in the world, you can't really go into a bank and buy gold unless you're in like Switzerland or China, maybe in Hong Kong. But these are unique attributes of Dash. And that's why I think this is a growing ecosystem, and it's an amazing system because very few other cryptocurrencies allow you this opportunity to do something like this. So that's what I think the barrier is people don't understand the fiat entrance and off ramps and how to use it within the ecosystem. You know, because I'd prefer to keep Dash within the ecosystem and spend what you need from it. You know, so.
So it seems like a lot of those are educational-based barriers, right? People don't know that they should be spending it. They think they got to hold on to it. People don't know that they could trust it, or people just don't know why it's important to have a free financial system. Where I've hit the barriers tend to be infrastructure, to where there's just not a lot of services out there that support. It's not so much businesses in particular, but so for example, when trying to sign up a merchant, which has been kind of my experience, right? If I want to spend Dash on something, I got to go to that guy and convince them that he's got to take Dash for it because, you know, it's like the Wild West. And that's one of the reasons why New Hampshire, of all places, is such a great crypto spot, is just because it's easy to talk to the business owners. Very independent-minded people, very like, it's easy to talk to them. You just say, hey, you want to use it? Or sure, I guess. But for example, there's no, in the US, there's no, who here ever used BitPay before the whole block size problem? Yeah, BitPay was fantastic. It was just, you sign someone up, you pay them 1%, they get the money in their bank at the end of the day or whenever it was. Perfect. It was, and since then, there's been no, in the US, again, there's a bunch of payment processors around here, but in the US, in my narrow experience, there's not a lot of good ones that do that. There is no such thing. And so, for example, AnyPay, who's supposed to be on the panel, sadly couldn't make it today, have a great payment interface, but that's just to receive the crypto. It's like, how do you convert it back end? So, okay, well, I talked to someone at Uphold. Okay, well, why don't you sign up with an Uphold account, get that going, and then open your USD card, and then deposit with Dash and get that address and copy and paste that into your AnyPay thing, so your payments go and get auto-converted, but then you have to wait until you have about $200 or so in your USD balance on Uphold, and then you got to convert it to your bank account. It costs about $4, and then you should still save money over credit card fees. I mean, all that is true, right? But it's a long conversation because the infrastructure is not quite there. And then, you know, sometimes with like Coinbase is easier to set people up with. Thankfully, Coinbase is now there. But now it's like, all right, so you got Coinbase, but when you take the payment, it doesn't auto convert. So when I pay you for this month's stuff, just open the app and convert it before something drastic happens. Like 10% of the value goes down. It's like, there's those infrastructure problems. The biggest problem for me personally has been a bill pay service. And that's why I always like, my ears perk up when I hear something like earlier that presentation, which unfortunately might not work as well in the US. I still have to investigate. But in the US, bill pay services keep getting shut down, like crypto bill pay ones, because banks do not want to deal with, cryptocurrency. And the bill pay, there is no such, you don't just like have like an IBAN number you can just send to and then there you go, it's all done. It's like a lot more complicated. So infrastructure is the biggest thing. When I talk to a merchant, how do they use it? How do they process it? How do they track their things? Like AnyPay is just starting to get a tip jar system in their app, and they didn't before. So then every time I'd hold Dash Meetup, I'd say, all right, if it's this one server, they love crypto, and you could tip them to their own wallet. It's fantastic. And then, he's not here today. Well, for her, you got to have some cash. You got to pay with crypto, but you got to take different money to leave a tip, which, you know, in the U.S., tipping is basically mandatory. You'd say, you know, it's everyone, unless you're an evil person, it's almost mandatory. So there's those infrastructural challenges of the system doesn't compute those things together. And so the problem with infrastructure is who's going to build it if there are no customers for that infrastructure? And how can you be the customer if there's no infrastructure? And so there will have to be some sort of event for a massive amount of people clamoring to do what I do, and then people will start building up all the infrastructure. So the next thing is, what is the best part about living on crypto? Like, what makes it the best? What's handling crypto, using it in, you know, taking all your payments in Dash, all that stuff. What contrasted with the old system, what's the best part about using the new system?
The best part, from merchant perspective, it's quite easy. It's 0% risk of chargeback. So most people don't realize, but there's a lot of credit card fraud going on. But when you do crypto only, there is no chargeback risk. The money is in your account instantly. Well, if they pay in Dash, of course. And it's actually faster to get fiat money back, because with like Kraken, for example, I send my Dash to Kraken, and within 10 minutes I have the euros on my bank account. It takes longer to like get money from my savings account to my business account, or vice versa. And I could just convert it to crypto and send it to the other bank account. That's faster. Like, it's ridiculous. You know, you would imagine that it's like the fastest way to keep it in the banking ecosystem, but it's not. And that's the number one. And the second part I already said, but I have to reiterate on this one. You get the money directly in your bank account. This is such a huge advantage. And also, it is my pitch for my suppliers. So when you have to start somewhere to get more adoption. So, and I was thinking, okay, let's get the suppliers here in Switzerland, I mean in Germany. So in Germany, I get the suppliers and I tell them, okay, you give me a payment target, that's cool, like 14 days. How about I pay upfront? And they go, what? You want to pay upfront? Who wants to pay upfront? Well, I will pay upfront if you take crypto. And they're like, ah, okay, so how does it work? Can I exchange it to euros? Yeah, and that's the point. So it's really nice to live on crypto, and I would really applaud any entrepreneurs in this room who would like take some weight off my shoulders, because, you know, groceries, drugstore products, I cannot make everything on my own. So if someone else would also chime in to like build something, there is a customer base for it, but it takes time to build, because there's lots of trust needed to get it going. So.
That's the best part about living on crypto. Yeah.
As I said, I worked for Dash Merchant for 5 months, and the best part, well, let me start. I'm a materials engineer, and when I was studying in the university, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life when I finished my studies because of the minimum salary in Venezuela. Today, the minimum salary is like $4. And to make an example, a pack of rice, of 1 kilo of rice, it's like 50 cents. So you can think how much can meat, 1 kilo of meat can be valued, right? $4 monthly. Yeah. So when I started to work with Dash, I started to get a better salary, so I upgraded my opportunities, so I could use money to help my family. My parents were not working at the time, so I could help them to buy food, to get the bill paid, and something like that. Once living in Europe, working with Dash Latam, one of the benefits is that when you don't have an account on a bank, and a bank doesn't want to open you an account because you don't have the residence paper or something, you can. I could live with Dash through some web pages or exchanges like Bitnovo that got this integrated debit card that you could top up with Dash. So I could evade all the financial system or all the banking system, top up my debit card with Dash, and still live on Dash and get from Europe to Venezuela. First, you gotta do the exchange from euro to dollar, then from dollar to bolivar. There are lots of fees that are between in the middle of any transaction, right? So if I do a remittance from Spain to Venezuela with Dash, the Venezuelan is receiving Dash, and it's using it in lots of merchants that already accept Dash, or can change it through Uphold to dollars if they want, so they can save, or change it to Bolivar if they want. So it's like an ecosystem that it's growing in not just in Venezuela, but in Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Guatemala, Trinidad y Tobago, Brazil. So it's like a very specific region where I think the DAO and the DFOs should focus because of the great potential it shows.
All right, so the benefits of living on Dash. 1, freedom. 2, privacy. And I've traveled around the world a lot, and I've probably been to close to 60 countries or 70 countries. And one thing I've noticed is that the socio-political situation in different countries is changing around the world. The Western world used to be free, and I'm actually finding more freedom in former socialist/communist countries in Eastern Europe are more on the edge with cryptocurrency technology and blockchain technology. So I'd say go where you're treated best. That's one of the benefits of cryptocurrency, and one of the best things about it is go where you're treated best. You don't have to live. You're not a potted plant. You don't have to live in the country that you were born in. If you have your savings in your crypto, you can basically go wherever you want. Your money's with you. And to give you an example, one of the best things about living in Eastern Europe is that there are crypto ATMs that buy, sell. So I can pretty much buy and sell cryptocurrency in any ATM, in probably about 5 or 6 different ATM buy and sell ATMs in the city that I'm in. So that's one of the benefits of cryptocurrencies. You can move where you find the best services that you would like to see. And I wanted to be in a place where I could cash out to an ATM and get cash. And for me, Eastern Europe was probably the best place you can get at ATMs. You can go to Ukraine, and there are stores that'll sell you in cash, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and you can sell stuff in cash and cash out that way. So that's the benefit for me, is if you have a bank account, you can't do that. You're tied into where did this come from, who's taking it, who are you sending the money to. Your privacy and your freedom is worth a lot. And I used to work in advertising and marketing. A lot of people don't understand that when you use if you're not paying for a service, you are the product. They'll market you and monetize you on the back end every which way they can. So privacy is an important aspect of money and finance, and I think that's one of the benefits of cryptocurrencies. It's the most important thing, is your privacy and your freedom. Nobody can tell you when to take out your money, what to do with it. It's all yours.
Yeah, I have a similar, to summarize both of those points in one word, I would just only go with freedom, right? Because obviously privacy is tied to that. So when I first started living all off of crypto, I still kept a bank account because once in a while, there was just not a lot of places around me that took it. So I would still have to cash out sometimes. So I used Wall of Coins, which is like a peer-to-peer system that then people would deposit. I'd sell them Bitcoin, they'd deposit into my bank account, and then, you know, things would be fine. And so I remember one time specifically that kind of nailed that point home, which is I was going to go pay rent, and then I checked my balance and I had a negative balance. I'm like, where'd this come from? What happened? Like, what happened to all my money? Yeah, I'm screwed. And then it turns out someone had found a way to forge some check in my name and did some purchase and like took it all. And, you know, I got it sorted out, but as I was getting it at the bank branch, getting it sorted out, I was just thinking, like, I had, like, they just let some person just take all my money because he wrote, and they showed the picture too. It was like, there wasn't even my signature, it didn't even look like my name on the signature. Just like someone wrote, because she wrote some random stuff on not even a secret code, just random stuff on a piece of paper. With that, yes, that's what it was. Some lady in Florida who did it. And it's like, it's true. That's true. She wanted to buy a Chevy something or other. And like you just gave her, like, this is, and then of course there's like that anxiety always of, especially if you live in low means, of if you have a bank account, they can take money out of the account at any time, and they do, whether it's like direct deposit or you swipe your card. Sometimes you get a double charge. You know, there's like, it's not yours. They can take it out at any time, and there's always that fear of like, you know, after you swipe it, even if it goes through, it's like, you don't know how much you actually have at any one point because there could have been a change. At least with crypto, even though the valuation goes up and down, I know how much Dash I have, and it's just not going to change. And so there's that. After that point, they just said, okay, we need to close your account and open a new. We need to close your account and open a new one because this one's compromised. So yeah, just don't open a new one. I'm done forever. No more bank for me. So that's that like freedom story of like, now I don't have to worry about like someone taking that out. And also, if you ever use cryptocurrency, which, you know, all of you pretty much, right? You realize how there's a certain feeling, like an emotional feeling, the way you, like, I used to always stress over bills, right? Like, not just because I couldn't afford them, but no, just the process of, all right, I got to get the card info and pay, and just, it just was always a stressful thing. But now I look forward to paying for things with Dash. Like, honestly, I'm just like, oh, I get to open up the wallet and put a little beep, zeep. It's just so fun. And part of the reason it's so fun and enjoyable is because it's freedom. All you have to do is just go, here's what I want to send it to. Here you go. I don't have to ask anyone's permission. There's no like, you pay them and then it's like, did the charge go through? I don't know. I don't see. Oh, did they double charge? We have no record. Oh, well, where's my customer support tickets? Like, no, I just zap and it shows up on the blockchain and you can just say, here you go. It's permanent. It's there. And it just makes it so easy to where, like, I've probably given away many, you know, thousands of francs of my own money just to random people. Here, have some Dash, you know, over the last few years. Can you imagine doing that with any money? Go up to a random person on the street and just be like, you know, 5 francs. Do you want some? Like, no one does that. It's mine. It's like this shame, almost like shame and the distrust mentality and this fear mentality around money, that it's just something weird that, you know, but with crypto, it's like when I send people Dash, it feels good. When I receive it, it feels good. And there's no friction to that. And we're doing some crypto pub crawl in Portsmouth a few months ago, and this friend of a friend, he was a lawyer. His first experience, I gave him a wallet. He installed a wallet, and I just sent him some Dash, and he went and bought coffee, and he was just like blown away. This is so fun! Oh my gosh, it's so great, because no registration process, no permission from anyone, no like, all right, well it's just like that's it. It's just that simple. It's like digital cash, except it's not like, oh, someone's going to steal that out of your wallet now if they see you got. It's more, more secure. You can just, and of course, paying for stuff across borders. There was a friend of mine who had some very serious trouble in the south of Mexico, where people were looking to basically kill him for a few months, and he had to escape. And the way he fled to another country for asylum, and he didn't have the money. And I just said, use this service. Tell me the numbers, send me the numbers they have, and I'll just pay it. And so, I bought his plane ticket with crypto, and he got out of the country. And I mean, he's still alive today, so that's a good start. But part of it is like, it's not like, well, who's paying for the ticket? Oh, are you associated with this guy? The cartels are looking for him. Are you involved? Like, no, it's just he paid for it with crypto that came from the sky from nowhere and wasn't associated, and just freedom. You should really try it out. All right, now, how much time do we have left? 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes? All right. 10 minutes for questions, if you have any. If you don't want questions, I'd be more than happy to run out of here and never see you again. No, I do want to see you again. But question. Yes, you had your hand up first. Loud.
To you,
Yes.
since you're the one who, as I understand, actually does the most of living on Dash. There's a clear opportunity cost that comes with it, right? I mean, you work in the US, I understand you can't have a 401k, for example. You can't have a mortgage without a bank account. How do you factor these into your life decisions? And that's one part. The other part is, as an example, a few weeks ago, Amanda Johnson posted a video where she was paying at a Walgreens or something using Dash through a gift card. And in the video, you could see the amounts, and I calculated compared to a reward credit card, she overpaid, quote unquote, by 13%. That's a sizable number, and I appreciate the idealism and the freedom you get on one hand, but how do you think about the cost that comes with it? Or is that is the freedom worth it for you so much that you give up 401k, you will never buy a house and have a mortgage, and you're happy to pay extra on every transaction you make?
Yes, so first off,
Repeat the question for you.
yes, so the question was, there's a significant opportunity cost between living in a very narrow world of only cryptocurrency, because so much of the financial system, like buying a house, having a mortgage, etc., there's a bunch of costs associated with that. So is it worth it? So first off, to answer your question, for someone like me who's in a position to afford it, absolutely, it's worth it for the freedom. I'm an idealist, but like retrospectively still, yes, it's worth it. Now, because it's a new system, it's like, for example, I remember a time when in the United States, beer sucked and coffee sucked. It wasn't that long ago. It was like a couple decades. None of it was any good. And so if you were in a good place, I'm in Seattle, great coffee. If I'm not in Seattle, no great coffee. So you literally have to live in Seattle if you want something like that. Or it's like, American beer sucks, you have to go live in Europe. You all go to Munich, it's great beer and stuff. Yeah, sure. Now there's craft breweries everywhere in the US that have like really high quality beer. There's great coffee shops everywhere. Now it's like you don't have to have that sacrifice. So it's the same thing with living off of crypto. In the beginning, and with each passing, I would say quarter or 6-month period, it becomes less of a mental exercise to live off of cryptos. And now I don't just have to go to the one place. It's not just like, we go to the porterhouse, we want to pay with Dash. That's it. It's like, now we can go to another place too, and then there's a third place. So it's getting a whole lot better. A lot of those problems, just because, at least especially at this stage in my life, I have no interest in, owning a house where now I owe a bunch of money to the government just for owning a thing, and property taxes. Like those things, it's not something I want, etc. Mostly, I don't really have to pay. I mean, the only thing that where it really hits me is, it doesn't really, but slightly, is I have to book my flights through Cheap Air, because they take Dash and pretty much no one else does for the flights as far as I know. And so sometimes Cheap Air is not so Cheap Air compared to something else. Sometimes. But I mean, that's like a very small thing. Other than that, I just, it's perfectly competitive. Now, there's always costs associated with everything else. So for example, the biggest thing is the inflation cost of living on fiat. It's different from every single country, but I mean, your purchasing power goes down over time. It just does. It's just what happens, right? That's why fiat is not good. Now with crypto, like for example, living on Dash, like purchasing power on a short enough time frame, you can say, oh yeah, look, you got roasted, it was terrible. But I mean, this is before I ever worked for Dash explicitly for the Dash DAO. But my first Dash I ever earned was I wrote some article for a publication, and they paid me 3 Dash for it, which, that was $7 Dash back then. So like, if you zoom out enough, just whatever extra costs, which I have not really experienced too many extra costs. Usually, in fact, I've used some, when I go buy my coffee, I get Dash back from it. When I buy gift cards, half the time I get Dash back. The other half, it's just about like market rate. And so my favorite place is this place called La Maison Navarre in Portsmouth. It's a little French bakery, and they have a little espresso machine. And yeah, they use the AnyPay point of sale system. And so if I spend like $2 on a coffee, I get 20 cents worth of the Dash sent back to my change address. So, and then eGifter through giftcards.dash.org. Again, this is a little US centric. I don't think it works very well in other countries, but it has a Dash back component to it. And there's a bunch of places that will kind of give discounts. Generally speaking, you don't have to pay a premium, especially if you're doing like peer-to-peer. And also a lot of the, if you do peer-to-peer like sales, etc., there's not a lot of costs. They tend to be, mom and pop merchants, as they call them, and therefore cheaper, right? Because every time you're buying from a larger business, there's a lot of infrastructure costs you have to pay that aren't just, here's what it costs me to make this with a little bit of profit to live on. So I don't really find that part to be a sacrifice. It's mostly more limited options, to be honest. I mean, but of course, because of the lack of friction, it just tends to be, there's a lot of like time that goes into typing out, credit card numbers or linking things or, going for and of course, if you have banks always have their own rules. Like if you use credit cards, there's always interest on that, which is, that's its own thing. You have like minimum balances for, checking accounts and things like that. There's always some extra hidden cost on that side. So when you're getting the trade-off, there's a trade-off in the other direction.
Well, and the services are always getting better every month, so.
Yes, that's exactly it. The services are getting better every month. So the problem, you're talking more about a 2017 to early 2018 problem, not so much a 2019 problem. It's getting better. Yes.
Actually, 2 questions. Does one of you have children?
Of course I have children.
You do or you don't?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so is it possible to live entirely off crypto when having, I don't know how old
He's free. No, it's not possible because, like paying rent and electricity bills, and I know Martin is working really hard on Lamium, but
I already do that. I thought you guys negotiate with your landlord.
yeah, it's a kind. Well, Germany has some kind of quirks with landlords, which they are not usually private persons. They're just like some sort of consortium, and you have to get the whole consortium to accept it. I don't know the correct English term for it, but I hope you can follow. Yeah, they kind of state-owned, like a Genossenschaft, if someone knows the English word for it, and that's kind of difficult. And also, like you said earlier, with the mom and pop shops in New Hampshire, where you just go up to the owner and say, yeah, take crypto. Hey, oh, fine, cool. Yeah, you can try that in Germany, but there are only 5 chains. Like you go to Rewe, Lidl, Aldi. You cannot just go to one store. You have to go to the headquarters somewhere in Germany, get them to install a new POS system, and then Jan is working really hard on that, but it takes time, way longer. So no, you cannot live on crypto really good. You would have to use voucher services for everything, which I don't think is a really good idea for adoption. It's nice for short-term fix. I think Joel can speak from experience there. But we need like a real crypto ecosystem, like a full circle, and then it will be possible.
Yeah, so that's another part. The worst person to try to live entirely off of crypto today is a middle-class person with children, because there's like the least. It sounds weird because that's actually some of the least flexibility. If you're poor, you have a lot of flexibility. If you're rich, you have a lot of flexibility. If you're right in the middle, it's like, nah, you're kind of locked into that track right there. You probably can, but then you have to. Let me put it this way: yes, you can, but first off, you know, I know some people who are completely unbanked and live off crypto and have children, but they're a little wild, you know, a little hippie. Like, it can happen, but it's not as advisable. The thing is, your flexibility is much tighter, so you have to have many more, because your costs are a lot more fixed, right? It's like, well, I have to this, that, and now, you know, I can't just like, you know, my health care is fine, and then you start hurting, you go negotiate with the doctor. Hey, you know, I got bicep surgery. Can you take crypto if I'll do this big? Or, you know, it's like, my kid's sick, I need help now. Like, it's a little, your flexibility is much tighter. But yeah, that was one question, or was that two?
Do you see that as an opportunity cost?
No, because it's not. It's like, for example, right now I'm living under the opportunity cost of not being an astronaut. And let's be honest, it would be a fantastic career. For some people, I have no interest. That's a zero cost to me. So in my case, I'm living the way I'm living my own dream, so zero cost to me personally. All right.
One question.
Yeah, last question, I think, right? What time is it? How much time do we have left?
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
So,
2 questions. I'll get through really quick. Fine.
so quickly, how do you hedge the volatility? With a small amount, we can all deal with it. Living off crypto is different.
Yeah.
9 months, anything between 12 to 24 months ago, if you started at any of those dates, you would be in the minus. How do you deal with that?
Yes. So there's 2 sides of that. First off, over the long enough time period where there's ups and downs and downs and ups. First off, you know, I do get paid in a fixed valuation and not a fixed dash amount every month. And of course, if I was paid in a fixed dash amount every month, I would be horrifically rich by now, you know, because you know, you start when it's like pretty low, and then it's like, oh, I'm still getting, like, now you're getting like $180,000 worth every single month. Like, no, of course that would be terrible. So because of that, at worst, if you expect the price to be crashing a lot, you get paid, you pay all your bills right away, right? And of course with Dash, because it's so frictionless, you just go zap, 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 they're all paid, it's great. Now, of course, over a long enough time frame, you just like, you know, okay, well, it's really up now, let's buy a new kitchen table, let's take care of this, let's say, you know, other stuff, and then when it's down, it's just like, you just kind of like, all right, so can we go get some vegetables to throw into the ramen noodles just to make them a little spicier? We'll make it different, but like, oh no, I'm not leaving the house. Or you just buy like a giant bag of coffee beans and just work the, you know what, out of the espresso machine at home. Never go out for, like, yeah. You have those cycles of like good times and bad times, and it's I think I wrote an article about this. I wrote an article about just about everything because one comes out every Sunday, you know. It's like there's a certain bit of like, kind of like being an entrepreneur and a crypto person and a wild animal is all kind of very similar, because there's always like, what do you like, you always have to go look for your lunch for the next day, and you're not guaranteed that. So if you're an entrepreneur, you don't just show up and get paid. It's like, you got customers and then you get paid. If you don't have customers, you lose money for the month, right? And you have to figure it out. You have to deal with that up and down. The up is good, the down is not good, and you gotta sort of dollar cost average your life. So if you get good at that, it works with crypto.
Also, you can, if you have a decent size amount, if you're talking about not like, if you're talking about a decent size amount, you can also do futures. Like if you can do Bitcoin futures or something like that to hedge your positions. So there's two options that I can think of off the top of my head right now. You can hedge it through futures, and that can be any size, or you can do stuff like Vaultoro, where you can trade your Dash for gold or something else. So there's a lot of opportunities to hedge, man. Like that's what people don't seem to have a mindset about, is that you can't hedge this, or you can't live on it because it's not stable or very volatile. There's a lot of things coming down the pipe that allow you to hedge your position and add more Dash when you want to, or more gold or physical metals or whatever. So there's a lot of options coming down, and I think living off of crypto is a lot easier now. It's a lot easier now than it was 5 years ago.
So you would actually you would actually short Bitcoin, so that if it goes down, you gain on the other side.
Yeah, whichever position you're holding, I think you can. Yeah.
Well, it depends also on the specific geographic region, because if you talk about the Venezuelan bolivar, it's a more volatile currency, but volatile in just downtrend, always a downtrend. So if I get paid in Dash, it's like having savings, and I can exchange it to bolivars, just the right amount of what I need to survive or to get things. So for me in Venezuela, I could live on Dash in Venezuela easily because of the situation with the hyperinflation. This occurs not only in Venezuela, but in Nigeria, in other countries that got those economies that suck,
Yeah, so I think we're all out for time. Feel free to, not sure if I can speak for everyone, but at least me, feel free to hit me up at any point with other questions. I'll be around all evening. Now let's go spend some Dash.